Wemby is the first perfect big man that's ever created. Can shoot, play defense. He's a great team player. He's a joy to watch.
Talking reckless, must be out his mind. X him off the checklist.
The Grim Reaper, Victor! Oh my goodness!
Someone shut him down.
Victor Wembanyama is having a far less monastic summer than he did last year, but on July 10th, he signed a 5-year, $252 million extension to stay with the Spurs. He's going to be making $50 million a year now in San Antonio. And 12 days later, the 22-year-old, he was named as the cover athlete on NBA 2K. And if you keep track of this sort of thing, he's the first reigning Defensive Player of the Year to be a cover athlete on 2K since Kevin Garnett in 2008. And then on July 31st, the alien signed a long-term contract extension with Nike, and it includes a signature shoe line. That's according to our Shams Charania. The logo, you can see it there, it was unveiled in a space-themed video. And Wemby is now hosting some of his teammates for some workouts in France, where he's from. You can see a whole group. Let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Spurs making the trip across the pond. It does feel like the NBA, right, is Wemby's world. And the Spurs are currently the co-favorites to win the NBA title. And Victor himself is the outright favorite to win MVP. This is all according to DraftKings. So, Vince, Wemby seems like he's 10 toes down. He is trying to build a championship in San Antonio and not slowing down anytime soon. Brian Windhorst is saying, he says, you never put a ceiling on Victor Wembanyama. So how much more room is there for the 22-year-old to grow here?
Shockingly, I think there's a lot more room to grow when you looked at the playoffs last year, especially the last 2 rounds. When his minutes went up, his efficiency went down. He only averaged 29 minutes a night through the regular season. In the playoffs, it went up to 34. In the finals, it was up to 39 minutes, and you got to see him being a little more fatigued, a little more tired. It takes a little time, guys, to figure out how long, how hard you have to play getting through this gauntlet of the NBA playoffs in the season, not just the 82 games, but 4 playoff rounds. And just because he's pressed the fast forward button on everything else does not mean he's going to skip that particular step. That makes me very excited. And if I'm some of the other 29 NBA teams, very afraid of what's going to happen over the next couple of years when he starts to really figure it out.
Bobby?
Listen, I think they have another gear in them. And that's a scary thought for a team that won 62 games last year. And certainly you bring back the bulk of this roster here, and then you had Tobias Harris in the offseason, who I thought was probably the best under-the-radar move just based on getting a position of need and a player that can, a veteran that can help and complement Victor with this group. I think Dylan Harper will take another step. Stephon Castle will take another step. And, of course, Victor, I think there's still room to grow for a player, as you mentioned, is favorite for MVP this season.
Let's leave this depth chart up because there's a lot to process here, Bobby. But De'Aaron Fox feels like maybe the one player that didn't have the postseason that many expected. He was brought in to be the steadying force, the person who'd been there, even if not very much, in the postseason. And that's not quite what came to fruition.
No, you're right. I mean, I think you could certainly say injuries played a role in it.
Yeah.
Certainly how he played in the finals here. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of pressure on De'Aaron Fox. And certainly whenever you sign you're labeled as a max player, that comes with expectations. The benefit is that this is such a young team that it can continue to grow. There's no other player on this roster making, $45 million plus. Victor, of course, next year here, but for at least for the time being, as we said, this team can grow. And of course, there is pressure on Fox based on what happened in the finals last year.
And Slater, a team that you used to cover day in and day out, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are right up there with the San Antonio Spurs, and they were, of course, beat by the Spurs in the conference finals. They're the shedding salary. Does it feel like this is San Antonio's conference to lose?
Well, I mean, look, the rankings up there that had them tied, right? And I think, a lot of the conversation, like you said, around the Thunder this summer is shedding Lou Dort, Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe. Those three were not that important in the Spurs series. Wiggins and Joe didn't play that much. Dort kind of got minimized by the end of the series. I think what continues to be forgotten is how little Jalen Williams played last year. And we're talking about a, all-NBA second-team wing the last time we really saw him healthy, all-defensive player, 20-ish, 23-point-per-game type score. I went to their exit interviews the day after Game 7
Yeah.
and cornered Jalen Williams a little bit. He didn't want to have like the sour grapes comment of, if I was there, we would have beat the Spurs. But by the end of his answer, he's like, yeah, look, I know my impact, and I do feel like if I was there, they would have won that series. So as we look towards next year in the Thunder Spurs, if you just get a healthier Jalen Williams, I think the Thunder's pretty confident.
A healthier Jalen Williams, a healthier J-Dub. I think there's so much attention that's being paid to who the Oklahoma City Thunder had to offload this year. You forget just how deep and talented this team really is. NBA Twitter's getting a lot of airtime today, but, you know, it's the World Wide Web, and it's Dunk Week all over the globe, in France, too. So let's roll back some of the Spurs' best slams of the past year. This is early in the season. Victor rocking the cradle, a little reverse slam there, Vince.
That's like what I do on like a Nerf hoop.
That was the season opener. That was his announcement that this league is mine.
That is his Nerf hoop. This is Nerf hoop, Slater. And then Dylan Harper showing it off the bounce there.
You had him, or we had him on reserves going into, you know, on that depth chart. You know, I don't know how much longer he'll be on the reserve part.
Yeah, he was so good in the finals too. Spurs Timberwolves. Victor Wembanyama, he's not taking it easy on his fellow Frenchman there.
Rudy Gobert so good in the first round against Jokic and just couldn't kind of, you know, roll that into the second.
Well, maybe he knows knows the tricks a little bit. Western Conference Finals, Wemby taking it to the upper room on Chet Holmgren. Chet's another one who, you know, maybe is going to have to get his lick back a little bit next year.
There will be a major spotlight on Chet Holmgren.
There is no doubt, though, as to what number one was. Stephon Castle.
I was in the arena, and even, you know, it was a home arena, but you could still just see people in the crowd, like almost, you know, leaning back.
You have to. You got to respect that type of baptism on Isaiah Hartenstein. All right, so those Dugs bring us to the 2023 draft class because, you know, we saw some highlights from it. But Victor, look, is the only player to reach an extension. That means that everyone else in this class is on track to be a restricted free agent next summer, at least for now. We got a lot of summer left. It's similar to what we're seeing with Jalen Duren, Peyton Watson. That's what's going on right now. Bobby, why do you think it is that we haven't seen more rookie deals here in this class?
Yeah, it's usually when you see players that sign max contracts, it's right off the, you know, that first week of July. We've only seen Victor do that here. I think the one note is that 62% of players that have signed deals in the last 3 years do it in the month of October. So usually when there's a deadline, you know, teams certainly and players certainly react differently. And for players that are looking to cash in, really the only significant extension, max extension, was Michael Porter Jr., Malika, and that was 5 years ago. So
yeah.
I think if you're the Thompson twins who are looking out for that big cash, you know, that big contract down the road, they likely will probably have to wait until sometime in October to do that here. That's
how I am as a writer. When you put a deadline in front of me, then I do really, really well. When you say, get it to me when you can, I'm like, well, then we can push it a little bit. But you mentioned the Thompson twins. Asar Thompson, we're seeing with the Pistons and Jalen Duren right now, Vince. Is there a sense that maybe that's not what they want to see happen with Asar?
I think what you're seeing, Malika, is the Pistons being a litmus test for the second apron NBA. And before this thing came about, you would have so many players getting rookie max extensions. Now teams have to account for every single dollar. So Asar Thompson, the Pistons want to get him done, but Jalen Duren is still up right now. And this is kind of, once again, a litmus test. Those two players are not shot creators or not scorers in the traditional sense. So do the Detroit Pistons want to keep that much of their cap tied up in two players who are not primary offensive options next to Cade Cunningham? A lot of people around the league are looking to see how those numbers come in between now and October.
In your neck of the woods, Slater, it's Brandon Podziemski that's being affected by all of this. What could we see with him?
Yeah, 19th overall pick. I'd say, you know, a positive first few years from him, even through some bumps. All I continue here is mutual interest in ultimately getting something done. But Bobby mentioned the September-October range where a lot of these non-max extension conversations often take place. The Warriors clearly are moving slow this offseason and very much sequencing, you know, their contracts, and they just got Draymond Green done. They'll finalize the roster. Steph Curry becomes extension eligible in late August. That is very much at the forefront of their conversations, and I think by the time they do get to the September-October type deadline, they'll know more about what type of money they would or wouldn't want to commit long-term. And then Brandon Podziemski played 82 games last year very positively. He needs to decide if that number is good enough or if he wants to go maybe try to test restricted free agency, which is a dangerous place.
Yeah, also restricted free agency. How often? It's so often that eventually you're going to see a team just just end up matching. And that's the standoff that we have seen over and over and over again.